about this. This study guide, here's my disclaimer, is a list of possible topics covered. Possible topics covered. What does that mean, possible topics covered? Because it is not meant to be a complete or exact list of questions that may be asked. This is legalese to say it's possible that one of these topics here will not be asked on the final, on the midterm, on that exam. It's possible that there's a question on the midterm exam 1 that's not on this list. Then why did I bother making this list? It's a study guide. It is not a list of questions. It is not a list of answers. It's just a study guide. If you go through all lecture videos as well as slides and made sure to your honest self that you understand every term here, then you are well prepared for the midterm. So those few questions that are not on the list or etc., then it's okay. You'll recover, or you'll be able to make a pretty good guess about the answers. Okay. I meant to say, oh yeah, this study guide was created as a courtesy for you guys. So I don't know what university is like now, but when I was in the university, there was no such thing as a study guide. There was no such thing as a review guide. If you dared ask a professor what's important, or is this going to be on the test, they're gonna, if they don't laugh in your face, they're gonna say, it's all important. Why else would I spend the effort to tell you guys? So they would not do that, because it is your responsibility to learn it all, or as much as you can, and that's what the test is testing. How much of it did you learn? But this class is definitely not an upper level class. It is an introductory level, assuming you guys know nothing other than like how to read, how to do arithmetic, and how to show up with good hygiene. That's pretty much all I'm really expecting minimum out of you guys. So if I think of this class as an introductory level class, as a transition from high school, whatever your high school was like, before you become like upper class levels. So okay, then I will give you a study guide, because some of you are not only your academic background may be weak, but some students in this class are like adult learners. They went off and had a full life and then came back to school. So they pretty much forgot how to study. So it's also for them too. That's why this study guide exists. Okay, right. One more thing about, one more general guideline is, if you see something in bold, it's probably worth like paying extra special attention to. It's all important. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent the effort to tell you or to show it to you. But some things are like a little extra special. And then, just to be clear, where is it? There has been students in the past who didn't understand what bold means. So, I mean, it's a little hard to imagine that, right? You guys are all the internet generation, and how do you not know what bold means? Do you see how some of these letters are like a little more darker than others? That's bold. That's literally what bold means. Okay, so if anything in this lecture slides showed up as a little darker color, or a different color, or larger size, then there's a reason. Maybe it's something benign, something innocent like a chapter heading, but it could be something I'm trying to draw your eyes to. So wonder to yourself, what's going on here? Maybe I should make sure I understand what that word was, what that word means, the significance of that word in the context of this slide. Okay. You may have noticed by now that these list is in alphabetical order. It's not in chronological order. It's not in chapter order. It's not in lecture order. Why is that? Why didn't I group them by lecture 1 through 4 to make it easier to find? And I did that on purpose. First of all, I did that to eliminate duplicates as I was assembling this list. But the other reason is I want to make you look for it. And that's the principle of that's a principle of studying. The more effort you put into something, the more value your mind puts on it. If you got something for free and with no cost to you, no effort to you, then your mind, no matter what the giver says, your mind is going to think, easy come, easy go. You're not going to put value on it. And if it's a piece of information, your mind is going to think, even if it's illogical, your mind is going to think, well, I got it easily this time. I'm sure I can get it easily the next time, and it's not going to even bother putting it in short-term memory. You're just going to forget it right away. But if you had to suffer for it, if it caused you pain, if it cost you a lot of money to get, then your mind is going to say, I don't want to pay this much again, so I'm going to remember it better. And at least it's going to put it in medium-term memory. And then the more times you look it up, the more effort you put into it, your mind is like, oh, is it that important? Fine, I'll move it in long-term memory. And that's how memory works. Not so much on the significance of the fact, but how much effort you put into it, or how much you went through to get it. In terms of a spectrum of pain and suffering, then that's kind of where the extreme end is, where PTSD is, post-traumatic stress disorder, is this one moment in a person's life that may not have any relevance to what was going on before their life, but it caused so much terror. The emotional response is so extreme that they'll never forget it for the rest of their life. That's kind of what PTSD is. I'm not saying I'm trying to cause you PTSD in this class, but I'm along that spectrum on the other end. Instead of instead of hand feeding you with a spoon, I'm making things a little bit hard to get. So your effort to get it is tricking your mind into thinking it's a little higher value than it otherwise would be. So that's why I want you to look things up. So similarly, I'm not going to sit here for the next hour and define each and every term for you. That's what you got to do. Some of these terms you already know before you took this class. Some of these terms you remember from listening to my video. Some of you haven't watched the video yet. I've seen the view counts on those videos. You don't have to click like, you don't have to subscribe, but I wish you would view it. I'm not talking to all of you because most of you watch the video, but some students every semester for some reason think they don't have to watch the video and they'll do okay in the class. So if you don't know what these terms mean, don't think it's no problem, I'll just Google it when I get that question. Some of these questions are designed so that I know what the top Google result is, and it'll be one of the wrong answers. How is that possible? Aren't you teaching health? Aren't you teaching science? Isn't science true everywhere, no matter what context it is? Isn't truth universal? How can you say the fact that I looked up is not true? Because I subtly put the context of the question in a way so that the most common answer is not true. But the way I worded the question makes my answer true. So, fair warning. In fact, we saw it already in another class with target heart rate. It's not in this class, right? We haven't talked about target heart rate in physical fitness. But the idea is that I told them in lecture target heart rate is 70 to 80% of maximum heart rate. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Anyway, but knowing that if you Googled it, target heart rate is 50%. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying the way I taught it in class, the answer is 70 to 80. So in those homework assignments, whoever said 50 clearly got that number somewhere outside of lecture, and I marked it wrong. So, okay, great. That's an example from some other class. What about this class? I'm not telling you. It's going to give it away. So be warned. So a way to guard yourself against that is to read the question carefully. And that's not just a clue or a tip for this class. It's true for life in general. If somebody asks, if you read a question, whether it's for a class, whether it's for an insurance application, whether it's for a bank loan, you should read that question very carefully. Don't go, oh, I got the gist. Yes. You could be signing your life away. You should read the question carefully and try to suss out the nuance. Use critical thinking to read it. And then of the 4 choices that are available to you, don't jump to the first answer that sounds good. Keyword, keyword. Ah, there it is. Okay, I'm done. Move next question. Because it could be a trick. It's a trap. It could be a trap. So what you do is you're supposed to read every question, every answer, and don't only know why your choice is the correct answer, but then figure out why, tell yourself, explain to yourself why each of the other answer choices are wrong, why it's wrong. That way, you can catch yourself making a careless error. And so you don't, your scores are higher. And I still do that. That's why I make myself recheck and recheck again. After all, I teach ambulance workers. I teach ambulance response, emergency medical response. And I just took a refresher exam, recertification exam 2 months ago, and I only got a 98. And people say, you're a teacher, you're supposed to get 100. Yeah, that was a stupid mistake I made. I kind of rushed through. I had to go to the bathroom, and time was I just wanted it to end, so I just picked the first answer that seemed right. And it turned out it was a trap, and I got it wrong. And that's what happens. So read it carefully. One of the most common traps, I will tell you this, because I'm not the only one that does it. One of the most common traps that teachers love to put into their questions is a word that flips the question upside down. So the following are true except, or which one of the following is not appropriate for this situation. And if you read only the first half of the question and you think, oh yeah, I already know about this, and then you kind of rush through the second half of the question, you don't see that word except or not or isn't, and then you jump down to the answer and you go, there it is, and you choose A, and you run out and you move on, you fell for it. Because what the word except or not is doing is asking you the reverse. Which of the following are the approved ways to exit this building? A, the main door. B, the emergency exit in case of an emergency. C, the service elevator in case you have a physical challenge. Or D, out this window. And I said, which one of the following are approved exits out of this building except? The following are approved exits out of this building except. So what's the answer? Out the window. Right. Because the first 3 are all approved to get out of this building under certain situations. But if you try to get out this window, you're not going to end up in the parking lot. We're on the 2nd floor, and what you're going to find is that you still have 15, 20 feet to go to reach the pavement. So if this building is on fire, this is not the way to go out, because you're going to be stuck up here until a firefighter brings a ladder. So you take an emergency exit with a bright red light. So that's how this works. Okay. All right, now we can get to the actual. So, are there any questions about the general layout of this exam before I continue to the specific topics? All right, so I'm not going to explain each one of these. That's what the lectures were for. Determinants of health is, remember, there were, determinant is a fancy way of saying like what makes achieving a healthy state easier or harder, what contributes to a healthier individual, what takes away from it, and so that. Alliance is from the, it's like when two groups, come to an agreement, but there's another word, well, okay, I'll tell you. So the coalition also means two groups working together, but there's a subtle difference, right? So what's the difference between an alliance and a coalition? What? I know you. I know you know, right? Okay. Basic science lecture. Wait, the basic, lecture 2. Yes. So of course you should have watched the video on lecture 2. And there's something about lecture 2. I got so passionate about it. I got so into it. I'm so in love with my own voice that I didn't finish the entire lecture. There was like a section at the end about like fake news and misinformation and your responsibility to get it right. And so I threw a couple of questions in there, especially on the last part of that basic science lecture. So the video alone is not enough. Make sure you read those remaining slides. How much of the remaining slides? I'm not telling you. You should be familiar with all the slides. Bell curve is in that basic science video, but I revisit the bell curve concept in every lecture since then. So the bell curve is about population totals, and the message I keep trying to tell you is you've heard of people who are on the edges of the bell curve. That doesn't mean that recommendation is wrong. It just means that the recommendation is the healthcare recommendation is a good one for most people, but there will always be exceptions. Was it this class? There was one class, there was the health and social media discussion group that I created. So if you found something of interest, like an article of interest, post the link and we'll talk about it. And the past few submissions or contributions I haven't gotten to. Next week, while you guys are studying for the midterm, I will take the time to respond to those. And there's one article about a lady who took the COVID vaccine and it really messed her up. It was a horrible outcome. So does that mean the COVID vaccine is not only ineffective but actually kills people, is deadly? And so yes, it has killed people. But the number of people it has seriously harmed compared to the number of people whose lives it has saved, and even the people who got the vaccine and ended up in the ICU, the number of days it reduced the stay in the ICU. So the benefits to society, to the most people for that vaccine, far outweighed the risks that you could be one of those people who were seriously harmed because of the bell curve concept. There were several mentions of bias in that basic sciences video, and I invited you on the homework assignment to think of another one that it was not addressed before, because there's so many different kinds of biases out there. This one and a couple of others are great things to keep in mind that carry with you long after this class is over. After final exams, where you've taken all the things you learned in all the classes in this semester and flushed it out of your brain and said, thank God I don't have to think about these things anymore. I hope you take things like bell curve and bias with you Because people are out there always trying to change your mind, always trying to convince you to see it their way. And a way to think critically about other people's arguments is to remember concepts like bell curve and bias. And I'll say right now, the placebo effect. So I will revisit that. Okay. Case is from the epidemiology. Causes of death in the U.S. Before 1800 was infection. But since then, especially in modern times, I've said this in every lecture. What kills more Americans than anything else nowadays? What? What were you going to say?
I was going to say gunshot wound.
No. Not even top 10. Not even top 10. Heart disease.
I just was looking it up.
Gunshot wounds. Not even top 10. Is it what? Be careful of how it's said. Is it top 10 killers of young adults?
Oh, no. It's top 10 killers of Americans.
Of all Americans, heart disease. If you tighten the, so it's called an adjusted rate. If you tighten the definition of the population to like a specific age range or region of the country or region of the city, okay, now gunshot wounds more than Alzheimer's, for like a young adult group, right? But if you count all Americans, young and old, then sick or healthy, then it's heart disease. And the most common, so now we're talking again bell curve, most common cause of heart disease is high blood pressure, uncontrolled high blood pressure. Of course, there's genetics, there is the kind of work you do, the behaviors, like if there are any drugs, if there's any party behaviors, high-risk behaviors. So they all factor in. But of all the contributors to heart disease, the number one, as in the most people it affects, is high blood pressure. And then the most common cause of high blood pressure is obesity. And then the most common cause of obesity is exercising too little, eating too much. And by the way, another contributor, like number 2 or number 3 contributor to high blood pressure is tobacco products. So between eating too much, exercise too little, and tobacco products, they all work their way into high blood pressure, stressing on the heart, which if it's uncontrolled over decades results in heart disease, and that kills more Americans than anything else. Today, community health and public health, they're down here, public and public health, they sound really similar. Community, so like answer A, community, answer B, community health, answer C, public, answer D, public health. They all sound so similar, but they mean different things. So if you get that question, figure out what the question was trying to ask so that you know which one is actually the correct answer. Congenital versus hereditary. Oh yeah, right. From it's part of the determinants of health, because congenital. Well, there's a difference between congenital and hereditary. Sound really similar. They both involve something about birth, but there's a subtle difference. DALY, disability adjusted life years, and YPLL, years of potential life lost. So let's go to. Gotta reload. So let's go to this free online whiteboard just to make sure it shows up on the screen. I preloaded it, but I guess it unloaded itself. Can I draw yet? Okay. So the life X. It's not my fault. This mouse pad is crusty. That's who I'm blaming. Life expectancy is right now around 77 years. It was 78 before the pandemic. It dipped to 76 because of the pandemic, and then it's working its way back up as COVID switches from pandemic to endemic. What's endemic? Test question. Let's say disease. You know what? Let's do this for real. Pick a disease. Any disease. Chronic disease. Long-term disease. Diabetes. Life expectancy. Up. First result is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence gets stuff wrong. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. As the expert, I can tell the difference. But if you're looking up a topic that you are a beginner at, like you're researching for a term paper or researching for a homework assignment, and you're just learning this, how are you supposed to know if it's right or wrong? You don't, because you're just learning this stuff. Then if the times where the AI says something wrong, and you just copy and paste it because you don't know any better, and then the professor reads it and like, okay, you used AI for this, didn't you? Because this is not correct. The professor's literally fact-checking you, and you're going to get it wrong. The same thing used to be said about Wikipedia, and the reason why is in Wikipedia, anybody can edit it. You don't need a degree, you don't need money, you just need an internet account. You need internet access, and then you can make a Wikipedia account, and you can start editing things left and right. Now, there are supposed to be moderators on Wikipedia double checking the edits so that people can't go around griefing and trolling and putting, body part pictures on stuff that have no business being there. But for any controversial topic, then Wikipedia is absolutely unreliable because people are making edits there all the time. But if it's a topic that is pretty much established, like if you Wikipedia for 2 + 2, I'm pretty sure the answer will be correct because there isn't much controversy left on 2 + 2. But if you Wikipedia on like a current politician, then whatever is said there is highly suspect. Okay, anyway, what was I going to? Oh yeah, AI results. Yeah, so unfortunately with AI, there is no moderator. It's the AI is using this database from who knows where it got it from and saying things and coming to conclusions that unless you already know what the answer is in advance, you won't be able to tell if it's true or not. But this one, where always double check your sources. CDC, well, first of all, .gov, that's a good start. For the purposes, I know there are conspiracy theories that the government is lying to you and trying to control your mind, but for the purposes of this class, .gov is a good start. And you know what, it's the CDC. So call me biased, but I implicitly trust the Center for Disease Control. And that's because every time I go through their information, it's always fits my worldview. I have a heavy science background. I am pro-science, and everything they've done, their methods are always in good faith from my point of view. Sometimes their conclusions are wrong, but science does that sometimes. Where was I? Oh yeah, so the life expectancy for diabetics. I'm not after a specific number. The purpose of this exercise is not to get to an actual correct number like a term paper. I just want to have some number to use. So this middle talking point is saying at 50, the life expectancy is 6 years shorter for people who are 50 years old with type 2 diabetics, because there's a type 1, but the difference is beyond the needs of this class, than for people without. So if we already said that 77 is the life expectancy, and then they're saying that at least for the 50-year-olds, their life expectancy is 6 years shorter than without. What they're saying is diabetes mellitus 2, the life expectancy is 71. So the years of potential life lost is 6 years. That's how I got YPLL. And that's actually how you answer the homework assignment. It wasn't a specific, in the homework assignment, I didn't say the name of a disease. I said disease X. So hypothetical disease. And at this time, I gave you these numbers, and then I said, what's the YPLL? And it's 6 years. I think that's how I left it. I didn't go into more detail. But the other one is disability adjusted life years. Oh, this column. So disability adjusted life years, DALY. So what this one means is, although the average person starting from age 50 lives to 71, that's the end of life. So we're talking quantity of life here. The DALY, disability, is not about quantity of life, it's quality of life. Living with the disability means you can't do the things that people without the disease can. Quality of life, like eating an ice cream cake. People with uncontrolled diabetes, they're not allowed to eat ice cream cake. But people without diabetes, oh yeah, sure, you can have diabetes. So that's a quality of life issue if I've ever heard one, being allowed to eat ice cream cake. So living with the disability, the years you live with the disability, what does that mean for a diabetic? When you're no longer able to do things that you used to be able to do, whether you're physically not able to. For example, some end-stage diabetics get their feet amputated, so now they're no longer able to run, jog. They need help going up and down the stairs. So that's living with a disability. Not able to eat chocolate cake, some call it a disability. Not a physical disability, but like a dietary disability. So the word different. But anyway, from the moment you're diagnosed with that disability until the end of life, that's your years spent living with that disability. And that is the years you spend like that. So then the HALE, health adjusted life years, is the years you lived without any disability, doing whatever you want, eating whatever you want, until you get that dreaded diagnosis. So I'm not going to bother looking it up this time to save time, but let's make a hypothetical number now. Let's make it an easy 10. So if you lived with the disability for 10 years, and you lived until 71, you know what, let's make it 20 years. If you lived with a disease, is this eraser? Oh, I didn't know it would do that. 20 years. If you lived with the disability and then died, so that's 20 years, then 71 minus 20 is 51. That's health adjusted life years. Did everybody follow what happened? Okay. That said, I will limit the calculations to this level. You don't have, I'm not going to ask you to calculate DALY or HALE. or sometimes it's called hail, depending on who you talk to. I'm not going to ask you to calculate hail or Dali. I don't even know if it's pronounced that way. But the YPLL, I will have you, I'll test you on that. Okay, where were we? Empowerment, so there is the popular notion, which is what I used, the definition used in the general public, in the newspapers and news reporters. That's the one I follow. Okay, so I said the COVID-19 is switching from pandemic to endemic. What did I mean by that? And the end result is that we will always have COVID-19. We will never wipe it out because there's always fresh hosts to give it to the newborns. And whether they get COVID early or wait until they reach school and they start sharing saliva with their classmates, not purposely, but they pick their nose and then they play with a toy and then their friend plays with a toy and picks their nose, so it just keeps. The school system, the American school system, is like a disease progression superhighway. Especially respiratory diseases and body fluid diseases spread from school district to school district across the nation very rapidly. But anyway, there will always be people who have not yet been exposed to COVID-19, so don't have an immunity, and they will be there every generation to get it anew. So there will always be COVID-19 in the air. Formative versus summative evaluation. So in the homework assignment 3, most of you did good. What happened was previous semesters I just asked for examples of formative, summative, and it showed like people didn't really understand. But then I changed the wording of the question, and I guess it cued you into how to think about it, where to find this information. So you guys were better this time. Formative is while the project is ongoing. Summative is after it's over. How do you know the project was a success? Gatekeeper, I should have, in the homework assignment, I should have asked for you guys to actually name somebody, like name a public figure, because some of you were just spitting the definition right back at me, which is not what I wanted. But then when I rechecked the wording of that question, I realized, yeah, I guess your answer does fit the way the question was worded. It was just not what I meant. So I took it, I accepted it, I gave you full credit, but I wanted you to have somebody specific in mind for your project. The goal versus objective is defined by the SMART method. In order to have an objective, it must fulfill the S and the M and the A and the R and the T. If you don't, it's just a goal. What's the difference? A goal is some dream you have, some hope. You cannot make a plan off of hope. You must have objectives to make a plan. You want to make the world a better place? That's a goal. How are you going to make the world a better place? If I'm an investor, how are you going to convince me to give you money? And just telling me you want to make the world a better place is not going to cut it. I need objectives. Something S, something M, something A, something R, something T. To convince me you know what you're talking about and you can get there. You have a plan. This is achievable and realistic, and my money, even if I am trying to be a philanthropist, even if I just want to use my money to donate to a good cause, I know my money is going to a good place, a good person, a good project that will actually get things done. To prove it, you show the S and the M and the A and the R and the T. Okay. Remember that when you want to work in the office, when you want to pitch, make a sales pitch, when you want to convince somebody to do something, Specific, that's the SMART. Okay. Pilot, you guys understood it pretty well. You guys got that question. I mean, your answers to the homework question was pretty good. Okay, placebo. It's everywhere. Now, when you Google for placebo or look at the YouTube video for placebo, they talk about the fake pill and the real pill and a guy in a lab coat. And that's all true. That is like the original meaning of placebo. But what's really insidious or powerful about the placebo is that it's the ability of the human mind to believe somebody so much that they start showing physical differences. Just the power of suggestion can make people's bodies change in a way that it convinces the person that, oh my God, it must be true. And not only do you see this in pharmaceutical testing, but everything in life. There's placebo effects everywhere in life. It's not just seen in questionable medical recommendations, like from influencers. When an influencer, social media influencer, is peddling a product, and then people are posting in the comment space saying, I tried it, it worked great, I've never felt better in my life, you have to wonder how many of those experiences are, well, first of all, is it true, or are they just paid to comment there, right? But even if they are honest, is it placebo effect? Do they trust and believe that celebrity figures so much that their bodies are responding to that belief? And that's just medicine, but you see placebo effect in sales, in negotiation, a lot of business activity, absolutely in politics. It's everywhere in politics. So many other factors of life, you will see the placebo effect. So when you're watching the video for the first time or reviewing the slides, pay special attention to that placebo effect segment. Let's see, single blind versus double blind, basic science. The placebo effect, controlling for the placebo effect, at least at the the pill, fake pill, real pill level, is called a single blind test. But then the problem is that researchers are people too, and researchers are capable of bias, conflicts of interest. After all, they're human beings. Human beings lie, human beings cheat, human beings fudge numbers. So to minimize the corruptive effects of having a human in charge of a research project, it's the double blind side. And I mean, it's the other blind. So having the patients blinded and having the researcher blinded, that's the term. That's called a double blind, and that is the gold standard of science. If somebody said that I did a scientific project, but you don't see any way that this person was blinded, not literally, but figuratively blinded through the design of the research, then it's invalidated. They claim it's a scientific project, but it's not scientific because it's not double-blinded. Social capital is the trust people have in you to do the right thing. You can spend it wisely or you can spend it foolishly. You can, if you betray people's trust, that's spending it foolishly. If you produce results, then you are increasing social capital. People see that you are good at it, you know what you're doing, and you are worth them putting more trust in you, so you're increasing social capital. Know these terms, do what you got to do. Google it, watch the videos, do what you got to do. Know the difference of these terms. And I'm done. Any questions? Because that's what I reserve the second half of this lecture for. If anybody has specific questions about this in your readings, because here's your chance, right? I haven't seen you I haven't seen you in 4 weeks. You don't call, you don't write. I feel lonely up here. So here we finally meet in person again. Tell me how's things going? And anything about the class you want to talk about? And of course, there is another way you can reach out to me is here. Oh, can you see this? Yeah, discussion forum. And so there was the welcome. Oh, there's the pre-survey. I can do that. So here's a general miscellaneous comments about anything, but then here's something about health and social media. So all the sections have this discussion forum, and if you see something on the internet that is interesting and health related, then share it here, and next week while you guys are busy studying for the midterm, I will have time to respond to your latest posts and give my 2 cents. Don't be surprised if I just say interesting topic. I don't know. It's not in my field of expertise. So good luck, but I have no comment to make. I can say that. Right? In fact, I am ethically bound to say that if I really don't know. I'm not going to make up crap just to reinforce some fake reputation of intelligence. Okay, so anyway, let's take, unless somebody wants to talk about something else, I'm going to draw your attention to this pre-survey. Remember this pre-survey we did? So if I click on that as a teacher's account, I will not be given the chance to do it, but instead I can see what was done. So if I see the completion survey, instead of getting names, I don't, because I anonymized it. When I set this up, I toggle the switch, so I cannot see who said what. All I can do is get totaled results. So I click on this, I get the total results. Is that, yeah, okay, so let's do this, since for those of you that, let's see, 24, and oh, there's 25 in the class, so all of you except one did it. Very good, congrats. Thank you for your participation. How do you feel this statement? I am healthy. Okay, so most of you feel like you are somewhat healthy. I try to be healthy. You try to be good. I exercise regularly. Oh, most of you do. Don't feel bad if you're the one person who doesn't. It's okay. Up until 5 years ago, I didn't exercise at all. But that was when I was on the ambulance. And it's kind of hard because, first of all, I only do overnight shifts. And most of that time is sitting in the ambulance watching videos, or in the old days it was bringing a novel and reading it. And when it's time to eat in an overnight shift, the only places that are open was the food trucks and the late night fast food places. So we didn't exercise, we ate junk food, horrible on our bodies. And then we get the call for somebody who's like 300 pounds and has to be carried down the stairs. So back injuries was one of the most common career injuries in ambulance work. And so I was right here with you, down here. I am careful of the foods I eat. Okay, most of you watch out for it. I see my doctor at least once a year or as often. Okay, and 3 of you don't, but it's up to you. It's your body. Do what you want. How comfortable are you with health matters? Right down the middle. Hey, look at this bell curve. Look at this bell curve. Nice. So I don't expect anything from this class. I have to assume you guys are starting from 0. How often do you see health-related news? Only if somebody shares it with me, or once a month. Okay. Unknown number. I'm not going to answer it. How do you feel about the flu vaccine? Most of you say you don't have an opinion, but if you have to, you have to. That's understandable. So see, you're not, this is showing you where you are among your classmates. It's good. Global response to the pandemic was as good as realistically possible. Okay, neutral. Now, when you came to this question, it seemed a little weird for me to ask you this. This question refers to a condition called imposter syndrome. So a person mentally talks themselves out of succeeding in a competitive environment. This is anonymous. You notice that there was no way for me to know who said what, and that was true to my word. Okay, so some of you said you feel like you don't belong in this class. Some of you said you don't feel smart, and one day everyone will figure it out. All things you achieved are just because you were lucky, or there was a mix-up and you didn't really deserve it. And then the rest, 12 plus 11, 23 of you said that, and then 17 of you, so statistically, neck and neck, half of you said, I am in the right place and time for me, and I'm ready to do my best. Good. And you expect this class to be easy and you'll get a high grade. Well, all right. So my reputation continues. What's going on with imposter syndrome? And it's not only for people who are beginners. Imposter syndrome is a phenomenon they see in every rank, all the way up, even to like the top of the company, the top of the organization chart, the chairperson, the senior tech. It's possible. Not all of them have it, but it's been found in every rank in an organization. It's your own image of yourself, and some people do feel it. Now, and it's not just about how well prepared you are for the job, how much experience you had, but it also is like a factor of like your formative development, how you were treated as a child, the kind of opportunities or support or encouragement you got as a child. And it's not only that, but it's like one of the risk factors. And there's so many other things in past experiences. So if you feel this way, you're not alone. It's okay. And what really matters is what you do about it. Do you use this? Do you try your best anyway? It's like bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is feeling fear but doing it anyway. That's that kind of a mindset. Or do you use these feelings as an excuse not to try hard? What do you do with these feelings? So I encourage you to take these feelings and don't let it hold you back. Know that you are not alone. See, you are not alone. Half of you are in good company with half the class. And this is, if I could figure it out, I could be able to show you that it's not the bottom half of the class. This distribution does not coincide with the grade ranges. We can have A students who are suffering severe imposter syndrome, and we have students who are failing out, but they think they are God's gift on earth. In fact, there is a pattern for that called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger effect. You can Google it, where there's this curious thing of the less you know something, the more confident you are in your answers, which sounds backwards, but it really is out there, and that's part of the ridiculous things that are said on the internet. DUNNINGKRU. Dunning-Kruger effect. This is how you spell it. Skip the artificial intelligence answer. You know what? I will even say it now. Wikipedia is more reliable than artificial intelligence so far. So the idea is that here's the less people know about something, the more confident they are in their answers. And part of it could be I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a sociologist. I'm not a psychologist. It could, you've seen, the picture of the iceberg or the concept of the iceberg, that there's more to it than meets the eye. And it could be that the people who know the least only see the iceberg above the surface. And so they say, oh, that topic, it's easy, it's that. And they're very confident in their answers. Where the true experts have seen the bottom of the iceberg and they go, there's more to it than that. Even I don't understand. So the people who know the most are least confident in their answers because they've seen the bottom of the iceberg and they know how deep it gets. They know how crazy it gets. And the people who have not seen the bottom think it's only this top part, and they're confident and they think, oh, the answer is simple. Oh, the problem is nothing. Why are you being such a bore, etc. So could be some of that. All right. Did you read the syllabus fully? 20 of you said yes. I will take your word for it. I hope the other 4 caught up and understand the syllabus. Semester after semester, it's been pretty consistent with the results like this. Okay, so I don't need to make so I'll do that. Okay, then good luck to everybody, and you'll see me in 2 weeks.